The Friday, December 26, 2025 episode of The Young and the Restless was a tense, emotionally charged installment that combined corporate warfare, personal vendettas, and moral reckoning in true Genoa City fashion. At the center of the episode was Victor Newman, a man who has spent decades dominating both the business world and the lives of those around him, now confronted with the shocking possibility of jail time. This unprecedented threat arose due to pressure from Jack Abbott, who had formed a strategic alliance with Phyllis Summers and Kane Ashby, turning long-standing rivalries into a calculated move designed to corner Victor in ways he has rarely experienced. The episode masterfully intertwined legal stakes with personal dynamics, delivering an intense narrative that explored power, vulnerability, and the consequences of a lifetime of choices. The episode opened with Victor at the center of a storm he couldn't easily control. Historically, Victor has been portrayed as unflinching, a man whose wealth, influence, and sheer force of personality have allowed him to navigate any threat. Yet, in this episode, the usual confidence and bravado were tempered by a rare vulnerability. The mere suggestion of jail time unsettled him, demonstrating to viewers that even someone as formidable as Victor can be shaken when faced with the combined forces of strategic planning, moral leverage, and legal accountability. The tension was immediate and palpable. Jack Abbott took a central role in this storyline, leveraging his position not just as Victor's longtime rival, but as a master strategist who understands both the business landscape and Victor's personality. Jack's alliance with Phyllis and Kane was a brilliant tactical move. Each of these players brought unique strengths to the table. Jack, with his keen business acumen, orchestrated the legal and corporate maneuvers. Phyllis added emotional insight and persuasive power, knowing exactly how to push Victor's buttons while framing the narrative in moral terms that resonate in the public and corporate eye. Kane, meanwhile, provided the ethical perspective, highlighting Victor's overreach and the consequences of his past decisions in ways that made the threat tangible, credible, and difficult to dismiss. Together, the trio created a coalition that challenged Victor not only in courtrooms and boardrooms, but in his very psyche. One of the key narrative threads in this episode was the legal maneuvering surrounding Victor's potential incarceration. The tension between corporate strategy and legal accountability was central to the episode. Jack, Phyllis, and Kane meticulously applied pressure, ensuring that Victor could not simply rely on his usual tactics of intimidation or charm. The episode carefully illustrated how legal processes intersect with personal rivalries in Genoa City. Subpoenas, evidence, and corporate regulations became tools not only to pursue justice but also to assert dominance and deliver moral consequences. The narrative emphasized that in the world of Y&R, legal stakes are inseparable from personal history and business politics. Victor's reactions throughout the episode were particularly compelling. Normally a man who commands the room, Victor was forced into a position of recalibration. His facial expressions, tone, and dialogue conveyed a rare tension and unease. Viewers could sense the internal conflict, a combination of pride, stubbornness, and the fear of losing control. The episode allowed the audience to see Victor's vulnerability in a way that has been rare over the decades. While he may have faced numerous corporate and personal challenges in the past, this moment carried an unusual gravity. He was confronting a coalition that combined legal authority, emotional leverage, and strategic alignment, all elements that left him with fewer ways to assert his dominance. The episode also highlighted the emotional consequences for Victor. He has spent much of his life ensuring loyalty, commanding respect, and maintaining control over his family and business empire. Now, with Jack, Phyllis, and Kane united, Victor found himself isolated in a way that few other characters have seen. The pressure wasn't purely legal, it was also deeply personal. Each maneuver, each pointed comment, each reminder of past misdeeds was layered with the weight of decades-long history. For viewers, this made the storyline compelling because it wasn't just about potential jail time, it was about the unraveling of influence and the psychological toll that accompanies such a loss. Throughout the episode, there were numerous scenes that alternated between tense boardroom confrontations and private, intimate discussions. Jack, Phyllis, and Kane coordinated with precision, using not only facts and legal documents but also emotional leverage. They highlighted Victor's past misdeeds, moral compromises, and the ways in which his actions had affected countless lives. These confrontations were not just designed to corner Victor legally, they were intended to shake his confidence, making him question the foundations of his power. Victor's attempts to assert control were portrayed as both familiar and increasingly futile. He tried his usual tactics of negotiation, intimidation, and charm, attempting to manipulate outcomes in his favor. Yet, the trio's coordinated approach rendered these tactics less effective. Jack's unwavering strategy, Phyllis's persuasive insights, and Kane's ethical framing created a perfect storm of resistance. Victor's frustration was palpable, but the episode carefully showed that his determination remained, even as the odds stacked against him. This duality, strength and vulnerability, was a key reason the episode felt so emotionally engaging. The episode also explored the personal stakes underlying the corporate and legal drama. While the potential for jail time was the immediate focus, the narrative emphasized how intertwined Victor's professional and personal lives truly are. His relationships, history, and family dynamics all played into the current crisis. Jack's pressure wasn't purely professional, it was fueled by decades of rivalry, personal betrayal, and a desire for moral and corporate accountability. Phyllis's involvement added emotional weight, tapping into Victor's history with her and the consequences of past actions. Kane's participation highlighted the ethical dimension, forcing Victor to confront not just the law, but his own moral responsibility. The climax of the episode was particularly intense. Victor was confronted with the reality that the alliance against him was both formidable and resolute. The legal threat was real, the personal dynamics were charged, and the outcomes were uncertain. The episode masterfully used pacing to build suspense, alternating between moments of dialogue, strategic maneuvering, and quiet reflection.